Hello, what is up, you guys? It is me, it is Monty, and today we are back again, once again, with the start of another montemas. It is actually currently snowing. You can't really see, oh, maybe you can see a little ice right there. I'm in a parking garage. We are safe. We are not moving. I'm not unhinged enough to be like, let me drive through the snow and vlog. No, I like living. In fact, I like living so much that I told myself when I got this car, which I don't know if we had on the YouTube yet, but we talked about it over on the Patreon. I was thinking to myself, I'm probably still gonna take the bus when it's snowing. And then today I just couldn't be asked. I could not be asked to get on the bus today. But it was also only 2 inches, and it's not supposed to be like sticking around. But let there be another little, although the last time there was a little snowmageddon situation, they were like, yeah, sorry, no more buses. And I was like, in my head, that completely defeats the purpose of having a public transportation situation. But you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. We live to see another day. This video is going to come to you in 2 parts. Are all of Vlogmas's Montemas video is going to come to you in 2 parts? Probably not, besties. Probably not. I'm going to be very upfront and honest with you there. But I wanted to do that today. So you are joining a situation already in progress. Already in progress, a little bit, besties. So in August, I read The Lincoln Lawyer kind of on a whim, because last year in 2024 I had watched The Lincoln Lawyer. I think it was last year. In my head it had to be last year, but it could have been like January or some shit. Don't ask me questions. But I had watched The Lincoln Lawyer on Netflix and had a good time, and then one thing led to another, and for one reason or another I read The Lincoln Lawyer by Michael Connelly, and I enjoyed it. And so I read the follow-up book, The Brass Verdict, and I liked it. And I slipped down a rabbit hole, and I am now like 25 books, somewhat like 30 books deep into the Michael Connelly extended universe. I have read the entirety of the Lincoln Lawyer series. I'm still bitter looking at Shu Hachette for denying me an arc of the Proving Ground. But you know what? It's neither here nor there, because like I said, I fell down the rabbit hole, and here I am, having read most of the universe by this point. And mind you, I did start in August. I'm a little embarrassed about that. The entire journey is cataloged in videos with in-depth analysis, no, but in-depth discussions, recitations of what is happening, reactions to the entire 30-odd books that I've read from this man. You do have to pay for it. It is over on the Patreon. I believe if you get the $6 tier, you get every video. And if you're at the $3 tier, you get a majority of the videos. A majority? No. I know you'll get at least me talking about the last 13 of them that I read, because in November, like literally just yesterday, I wrapped up vlogging for them every day. And I did the same thing in October. October, it was regularly scheduled. November was not regularly scheduled, so I made it available to everybody, because Vlogmas was supposed to be behind the paywall, and then I was like, let me go on back over to YouTube. Let me not, because clearly I thought 2025 was going to be my retirement era, and then that just hasn't happened. So I have been updating the girlies about what I've been reading every day for the past, 61 days. And we are here for the next 25, besties. Christmas Day is going to be the last Montemas video. If you want the rest of the month, again, go over to the Patreon. That's where it's going to be. But hello, I'm here. So you're joining a work already in progress. I've just started The Late Show. And while you are joining a show already in progress, I do think that we are starting here with you guys at a particularly auspicious, is that the correct uses of the word, chapter, because I only have one more singular titled Bosch book. It's number 20 in the series. It's lucky than the name of the title. I'm forgetting it. But the book I started today on my drive to work was The Late Show, which is it like a full circle moment? When I first moved to Kansas in like 2020, August of 2020 is when I moved to Kansas, and I got a Books A Million membership. They gave me a little, and they still do this, they gave me a little like $5, what's what I'm looking for, gift card. And with that $5 gift card, when I joined the Books A Million Millionaires, you know, their rewards program or whatever, I bought The Late Show by Michael Connelly. And so here I am, 5 years later, reading like the 3rd book I ever bought in Kansas, as an adult. Because I did live here as a child, and then I bought some books as a child, but we're not counting those, okay? New chapter, new era. And so This one book I bought on a whim because it was in the bargain section. And I was like, I have $5. What am I gonna do with this $5? I bought The Late Show, and so here I am all these years later, and it's coming full circle. I'm finally reading this book, and not only am I finally reading this book, it is the start of a new era in the chapters. So, as I said, there's the Lincoln Lawyer series, which follows Mickey Haller, a defense attorney, for 7 of the not 8 books. 7 of the 8 books, he's a criminal defense attorney. I guess technically only 6 of the 8, because in Resurrection Walk, he is, it's not necessarily, like, it's kind of criminal defense, but he's doing appellate work in that one. And then in the latest one, he is on a civil case where he is arguing that this AI chatbot influenced this man to kill somebody. And so he is suing the AI company in the proving ground. So for a lot of it, it is Mickey Haller, criminal defense attorney, at work as he both loathes himself for being a defense attorney and struggling to get back with his ex-wife, but also kind of having some other dalliances, some other relationships. I think that of the 2 places to start, it probably is the better place to start, just because there's fewer of the books, and they are, in spirit, it's a criminal defense attorney. He is fighting against the police institution. Then I have the Hieronymus Bosch books, which start in the Black Echo and conclude in the 20th book that I have not yet read, before they get spun off into these Ballard and Bosch books, which start with The Late Show. The Late Show is technically just a Renee Ballard book, but I'm pretty sure in her subsequent stories, Bosch is a featured player in the title of the series. It's Ballard and Bosch, and those aren't like separate things. And so it starts in The Late Show, which, again, perfect opportunity because we're both going to meet Renee Ballard at the same time. She also, all of these shows, all of the books have been adapted. I say all of the books, all of the characters in the books have been adapted. So Mickey Haller has that movie with Matthew McConaughey, which I have not seen, but the Netflix show is really good. Also, if you do watch the Netflix show, when you circle back to read the books, I don't want to say that it ruins it, because they do update the books a little bit, because what was it, season 4, he is defending Lisa Trammell, and in the show she is a chef who it does not want to sell her restaurant to this property developer. And in the book that story was based on, it's set in like the middle of a housing crisis, and it is this woman who has lost her home, or she's fighting foreclosure, and she is thought of that she murdered the bank man, like the person the person who was trying to foreclose on her, like the head of the bank or whatever. So like they do update it, and it's not like a 1-to-1, but when you're reading the books, you're like, oh, I did kind of just watch this on TV. So they are, I think, really good adaptations in that they are faithful to the main storyline, but they also, I think, give characters a little bit more to do. Like in the books, his office assistant and second ex-wife Lorna has nothing to do for a lot of the runtime of the books, but in the show she is played by, I don't think the actress is named Amanda, but Amanda from Ugly Betty, my girl. She plays his second ex-wife, and she takes on the sort of the role of the associate that you get to Haller brings in. And I think actually in that same book, in The Fifth Witness, is when he brings in this person to help him with his foreclosure cases. But she has nothing to do for any of the books going forward, and she kind of just disappears after. She was in The Law of Innocence when Mickey Haller, which is the next tease season where Mickey Haller gets arrested for murder and he has to prove that he did not do it. So she has the most to do in that book, but by Resurrection Walk and then into the Proving Ground, she's disappeared from the face of the earth. And so that character, the fact that they on Netflix are just like, we're gonna keep Lorna, we're gonna give Lorna more to do. Great choice. Also, the passage of time in the Netflix show, it just feels more natural. There are these wild swings over the course of both the Hieronymus stories and the Mickey Haller stories. So Hieronymus Bosch, we are following a detective in Los Angeles starting in the mid 90s and the early 90s, and this man goes all the way through, because he features in his spoiler alert, the Mickey Haller is his half brother, and it doesn't really play in too much. I think we find this out literally in the second Lincoln Lawyer book, and we find that out, I guess, kind of deep into the Hieronymus stories, but it's not a major plot point. It's just ooh, fun fact, my 2 main series are connected. And so he is a detective in the early 90s. We follow him first in Hollywood Division, then he eventually what does he do next? He retires, he does a little private eye book for one story, then he comes back into a cold case unit, then he switches, he gets pushed out. There's a lot of ups and downs in the world of Hieronymus Bosch. Hieronymus is not a good man. He is kind of like the epitome of a questionable cop. Like, he is like, what are you doing? Never in my life have I rooted for Hieronymus, but the books are engaging. Okay, the storytelling is there and I'm engaged. I am locked in. So I'm excited to start the late show with you guys now. I've listened to approximately 33 minutes, according to Libby. So I don't have anything too concrete to know about this other than by way of having read the Lincoln Lawyer series, I understand that Renee Ballard is supposed to be this man's greatest partner. And I think that is absolutely crazy to me. Partially because I think his other partners don't get enough credit. J. Edgar was a delight. I liked him a lot. Kisman Ryder, before she betrayed him, was a great woman. Even Soto, Detective Soto, the little like rookie detective he had for all of like one story, great character. Like, you can't read the Hieronymus Bosch books for the great side characters, because it really is a Hieronymus Bosch show, and whatever criminal organization, whatever, murderer, kidnapper situation he is, like, it really is a one-man show, and it's mostly interested in charting Hieronymus as a character, and his partners are kind of just secondary people who are interesting in their own right, but you cannot expect them to be developed whatsoever. Because I don't say he turns through them like tissue paper, but even the ones like Kisman Ryder and J. Edgar, who stuck around for like 10 plus books, a lot of the emotional connection to them is just by having them on the periphery for a while. They are not nearly as developed as the other aspects of the crime that are going to be that you're going to read from. In terms of what you should know going in, if you are going to read the Hieronymus Bosch books and you're not going to go watch the like 60 some odd Hieronymus videos I've made behind the paywall, there is a lot of like questionable there are at least 2 separate online pedophile rings over the course of the series. Crazy work. There are a lot of insensitive verbiage, some of which I am going to credit to the fact that this is a series they've been running since the 90s, but also Michael Connelly strikes me as a man that means well and often does not know how to put his intentions into a sentence structure that you are trying to believe in, that you can like really get behind. A lot of times it's like, I understand what you are trying to say, but I don't know if it is coming across that way. That way, I'm not sure it's landing the way that I think this man intended it to land, but maybe that's just me projecting. Other things, Vietnam. Hieronymus Bosch is a Vietnam veteran. He was what he called a tunnel rat. And so he would go into the tunnels and try and find the Viet Cong in the tunnels. And you are never, ever, ever going to escape Vietnam War references. How Amazon Prime adapted this show and took Titus Welliver and allowed him to go be the Hieronymus Bosch and somehow strip all of the Vietnam. I don't know how they did it. They're coming out with a prequel series, Start of Watch, I believe is going to be the subtitle, with Cameron Monaghan in the titular role of Hieronymus Bosch. I think is great casting because I love Cameron Monaghan. Not enough to go watch Tron Ares, but I love Cameron Monaghan. And so I was like really excited for this. But when they told me that Start of Watch of him as a rookie cop was going to be set in 1990, that is so crazy, because when you're reading these stories, by 1990, Bosch was already a 20-year veteran. He was already knocking on retirement's door. People were already telling him, hey, you need to get out of here. So this idea that coming in as a rookie beat cop in the 90s, when I knew that this man had already solved at least 2 serial killer cases by then in the books, crazy work to me. So again, maybe they kept him as a veteran. I don't know. Haven't seen it. I don't really love Titus Welliver when he narrates the Bosch books. He did okay in the very first one because they re-recorded it with him because, he got cast or whatever. And I think there was like a bonus like back and forth between him and Michael Connelly in that production of the audiobook. And it was fine. But I think that the other narrators that have held the Bosch mantle were much better than Titus Welliver. But that aside, the idea that, again, like, we just are stripping all of Vietnam out of him is so crazy, because in the last book I just finished, The Wrong Side of Goodbye, which is book 19 of the Bosch series, that one is so connected to Vietnam that I think that Bosch ran for like 5 or 7 seasons, and then they came back with like Bosch Legacy, and that was like another handful of seasons. So they did a lot. They did a lot with the character, and I'm pretty sure they took a lot of the storytelling. But the idea that you could do all of that without Vietnam references, like, that must be a pleasant world to live in. Because Michael Connelly whacks you over the head with it so often that when I was reading, I think it's in Resurrection Walk, there is a scene where Bosch, in like literally 2020, maybe 2019, 2021, somewhere in the late 2010s, early 2020s, this man who had been in fucking Vietnam is now literally running through the streets of Los Angeles chasing somebody. And it's like, sir, mind you, he's like a 2-time cancer survivor. He was in this experimental drug, like, shit is in the back of my mind. I'm like, I just got all this new information that I hadn't even read yet, because at that point, when I was reading the Mickey Holler books, I had not read the Hieronymus stories. And honestly, with you, in the Hieronymus stories that I've read, he ain't had cancer yet. So it's like, damn, it's about to be back-to-back whackings with cancer? I'm not mentally prepared for this. Although, when you see all the bad shit that this man has done, it's kind of like, of course Michael Connelly gave you cancer. But like, I'm still over the fact that in book 2, this man literally, like, he committed murder. Like, he went and murdered somebody, and we just... Then in Nine Dragons, I think is like book 10 maybe of the Hieronymus story. It's pretty deep in there. But it's kind of the pinnacle. And the shit that Hieronymus does in Nine fucking Dragons, oh my god. Inexcusable. So I am just here having a wonderful little time, and I will give you guys a better update this evening when I return home. In my mind, I had planned on like going to the store today, which is crazy because I was at the store yesterday, but y'all know me. I live to go to the grocery store. But I don't know if I want to do that now that I know that it's all this. It's not supposed to, by the time I get off work, it's supposed to be done snowing. And so like maybe they'll have plowed a few more streets by then. But I do need to go to the grocery. I need to go to the store, not necessarily for groceries, but for some around the house things. So I don't know how much of the late show I'm going to have read by the time this video goes up. And then Wednesday night is going to be a late, all these videos are going up at like 10 o'clock my time, which is central. Wednesday's video is going to be a little bit delayed just because I have to work, I think, that night until like 11. And so I'm definitely not going to, it's a double because I work at the restaurant and then I go to the hotel. And so Wednesday's video is going to be delayed, but you're going to get it. It's going to go up, but it just might be a little bit late. But that is all I have for now. Like I said, this evening I'll come back. We'll update you guys actually about the late show. I just wanted to download you to the fact that we are joining the Michael Connelly train in progress. I might read some holiday romances throughout this as well. Last month I managed to read like, I think it was 20 full-length novels, and I think about definitely half of those were Michael Connelly books, and now I only have 10 Michael Connelly books that are out and about in the world that I can read. So 10 books in 25 days is 100% reasonable at the pace that I've been going for the past little bit here. So it's totally doable for me to finish out the Michael Connelly and still have time for a couple of holiday things. Hello, besties. I have made it home, safe and sound, and I have listened to actually quite a bit, 52% in, to The Late Show by Michael Connelly. As we discussed this morning, this is the first book in the Renee Ballard portion of his oeuvre. And here we are following the titular Renee Ballard. She is working the late shift in the Hollywood division of the Los Angeles Police Department. Her and her partner, I say her and her partner, she doesn't really have, she has a partner, but like not really. Their shifts just overlap 3 days out of the week. And she is an interesting character. Her father passed away when she was younger. He was a surfer, it sounds like, or at least a paddleboarder, because she's paddleboarding, and a wave took him out, so he drowned. And then she left Hawaii to come live with her grandmother in Ventura County. So interesting storyline there. That's not the point of the that's not even the point of the book. So we open the book, and she has been called in. Her and her partner have been called in on a couple of different things. So they start the night with a robbery, like they're taking down the name of this little old lady who says that her credit card was stolen. And then later on that night, they get like a twofer. First, they get a sex worker that had been beaten. And in the middle of handling that call, they get called out to another situation where a dancer at a nightclub had been shot, and then there were other like four other dead bodies at the club. And so our girl Renee Ballard, she is a little annoyed with her partner because her partner just really wants to work the shift and go home, because they're not really here to do any kind of actual detective work. They're here to, handle the case, get the call out, put it in a report, and then send it off to the proper people who are actually going to follow up and investigate these crimes. And Renee Ballard is in a situation where she is just like, could we see any case through? Could we like go from start to finish and like close something, anything, please? She used to be on the robbery homicide beat, it sounds like. And then her superior officer, whose name sounds familiar. These are connected to the other books that I've already read, but he sounds familiar. Ballard is a new character, is a new face, but this man, he sounds familiar. So he might have been, rubbing elbows with Hieronymus Bosch at some point, and it's going to come to me later. But a couple years prior to the start of this book, I guess he had made an advance on her, and she tried to file a report, and her then partner at the time did not back her up. And so she got shipped on out to the late show, which is what they are calling these little overnight shifts that they got her working. And he got to keep his job over there in robbery homicide and move on up the ladder. This is also, I think, a one of those times where I can feel that Michael Connelly's heart is in the right space. But sometimes I'm listening to this book and I'm just like, this is making me uncomfortable. So the first case of the person who got beat, the sex worker that got beat, this was a transgender individual. And the way that they are referenced in the text is like, I know these are police officers and I know what I am reading and I know the man that I'm reading. I want to say it is I want to say it's the reversal that starts off this way with this cold open in the past, which is another what I've learned Michael Connelly features. He loves like a first chapter set in the past and then you jump forward in the first chapter or like the second chapter into the present day storyline, where it was just like racial slur after racial slur after racial slur, and it was used as like a gotcha to be like, haha, you don't have the information that you thought you had. And at the time I was like, I understand why, and even to this day I understand why the book opened the way that it opened and why he was doing what he was doing in that text. But I still, for the life of me, I'm just like, Michael Connelly, this is deeply unserious. And so even now, while I'm understanding that there are other characters in the world around Renee Ballard that are bigoted, and Renee Ballard herself is not a bigot, and she is using the proper, or actually she's assuming proper pronouns for this individual, because this individual is still in a medically induced coma, and so we don't know what pronouns they use, what name they would prefer to be called. But it's just like, craziness or run rampant through the book, which is why even though I have downed like 20 some odd books from this man, I still, in my heart of hearts, I'm like, I don't know if I can tell the rest of the world to read these books. I don't know, because this book isn't even like one of the other ones from the 90s. From the 90s, you're like, okay, I get it. But even in like the 2010s to this one, which was released, I want to say in 2017, it's like, Michael Connelly, let's be a little bit serious. I digress. So the sex worker case has mostly been, that one has not been wrapped up, actually. The little lady who got her credit card stolen, that case has been handled by the 52% mark. We have found the person who was out here stealing it. He was stealing other people's credit cards. He has been busted. He's been arrested. Everything is settled there. The other case, so the case of the nightclub shooting, that one is a little bit more involved. And actually, just recently, at the like maybe 48% mark, one of the investigating officers on the case, he was actually found murdered in his home. Craziness. Murdering a man in his home when he's stepping out the car. Unserious. And so Ballard is like, oh my goodness. And that was her former partner from back in the day before her little complaint of sexual harassment got her shipped on out of the unit. So she is now trying to avenge this man and also like worm her way back into that nightclub shooting, because she was kind of called out on that one, but the person running that investigation is the same person that sexually harassed her, and so obviously he kicked her out. So she's like, I'm going to solve this case. I mean, she hasn't said that in so many words, but that's what we're doing. Like, we're watching her. She investigates this crime. And it may potentially get linked back to this other case that she got working, that she is supposed to be investigating, which is the assault on the sex worker. And so right now, she has kind of put together that the hit that happened at the club was probably because of a person wearing a wire. And so she needs to know, why was this person wearing a wire? Did he have a handler on the other end of the line? And how does all this lead to her ex partner getting gunned down in his home? So that is where I'm at 52% in. I have 4 hours and 32 minutes left. And I might go to the charger tonight and do some like late night listening. I'm gonna try and like top up my battery before I have to really plug it in Wednesday when I'm at the hotel. But overall, I think that Michael Conley is I say no, it is once again, because he introduced us to a new character in The Poet. And if you are going to read any Michael Conley, I do kind of recommend The Poet, because it's mostly a standalone. You do get introduced to a character that recurs a tiny bit in the rest of the universe, but not to there's like a great degree. And while there is technically a sequel to The Poet called The Narrows, which is part of the mainline Bosch storyline, having read that as like a double feature, because I had to go back and listen to The Poet because it wasn't available through Libby. I don't really know if you need The Narrows, and I think like The Narrows kind of just like is definitely the weaker link of the two. So you could definitely read you could read The Poet as mostly a standalone, and I think that just in general, his books with Jack McKenvey. Why do I keep doing that? His name is Jack McAvoy. But Jack McAvoy are the strongest, because even The Scarecrow, which is actually the sequel, not the sequel, but it's the next Jack McAvoy book in the universe, is also a good place, I think, for people who are unfamiliar to Michael Conley to start. There are some like actual true blue standalones in his world. Chasing the Dime is one, as is Void Moon. Those are both standalones. Chasing the Dime is about a kind of like a software executive who starts getting calls that he should not be getting, and so he's like, I'm going to look into this missing person because clearly something has happened. And then Void Moon is about a casino heist gone awry. And yeah, I'm gonna leave that there. Those are like the sort of log lines I would use to sell those books. And I think that they're decent enough. Chasing the Dime, I think, is definitely the weaker of the two. But even Void Moon, I think you have to be connected to Michael Conley just as like a storyteller to really enjoy it on that level. And so I think the Jack McAvoy books are perfect because you don't really need to read anything else, and you can just be fine with Jack. Even though, again, he's appeared in the most recent. He appears in The Proving Ground as a main character, and he's been a background mention in a couple of other stories. So those are my thoughts so far on The Late Show. Am I going to finish this tomorrow? I don't know. I could. Anything is possible. So maybe at some point during the month, I'll watch Heated Rivalry. There's only 6 episodes, so they've already aired 2. By the end of the month, I should have the other 4. I think that's, just basic math there. How many more Sundays are there? So maybe I'll catch up on Heated Rivalry and we'll talk about it. But for now, with The Late Show, I'm enjoying myself. I hope you guys are having a good start to your month. You had a nice Monday back in the office, if that's what was happening with you. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up here. We'll be back again tomorrow when I have more thoughts, more opinions. But until then, and until next time, bye.